Well, in a move to enhance government efficiency, President Bola Tinubu has directed the implementation of the long-awaited Orosanye report. This decision, part of the resolutions at this year's second Federal Executive Council meeting, includes various government agencies' mergers, subsumptions, and relocations.
All right, we'll bring you that report subsequently. But for now, we're joined by Arise analyst Dr. Sam Amadi, who was a member of the Presidential Committee on the Reform of the Public Service of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's good to see you, and no better person really than yourself to look at this. All right, so 2011, and this is 2024, and the question is, how relevant are the recommendations of the Orosanye report in today's Nigeria?
Well, we can say first that the crisis has got worse since after Orosanye. We've created more duplicative ministries and departments. We have distorted the manning level, which was part of Orosanye's concern. We have also created arguably useless agencies that probably do nothing. And so it has gotten worse in terms of, if you look at the scope of the duplication, the scope of the redundancies, the conflicts, the tough battles, and the lack of clarity in roles, and the modeling of manning level, meaning people who replicate inside the agency. You see, cost of governance is not just about how many ministries you have. It's also about manning level. You create a small ministry, you deck it up with directors, assistant director, deputy director. These are cost centers. Again, the third argument people don't see is that apart from this structure also is the cost of cost. You see, you can actually have many ministries run as modular ministries. For example, in some part of Europe, because the Ministry of Enterprise, Ministry of Innovation, there may be just 2 or 3, brainy guys, smart guys, work with the minister. So, yes, multiplicity is a problem, but more than that is the cost of governance itself. Arguably, you can have 2 National Assembly, 4 National Assembly run on the budget of this National Assembly. So, Orosanye's report is relevant because the logic of it remains relevant. But again, you need to now locate more ministries and departments and institutions created since Orosanye that probably need to fall into those buckets of, replicative, conflicting, and basically useless institutions. That.
I'm happy that you used the word, the qualifying word, that useless. But again, some would see it like, far-reaching when you say some useless. In trying to bring what had happened almost 13 years in today's Nigeria, you say more and more have been created and duplicated. Looking at our economy at the moment, how timely is this look or revisit or implementation?
I think this is smart for the government that seems to be struggling now to create both public trust and effective management of the economy and political crisis. This government needs a lot of support now because they are floundering, so to say. So this is really a good measure to re-engender trusts, because part of the argument against the government in talk about tightening the belt or outsourcing costs to the poor people in terms of removal of subsidy is that you are shielding the top guys. 1 billion for committee, 500 million approved, 160 million for legislators. There's nowhere that on the buttered bread of the elites that's something removed. The dry bread, the leftover that the poor are, it is what are taken away. So this could be seen as a more realistic way of reforming government, of dealing with costs, of optimizing revenue. So if you're going to say, okay, we're going to cut from this side too, the only thing that the print has to also be inward. You can't have 100 aids, plenty aids, different. The media, so-called media, I don't know whether they are paid, but there's people who are said to be media, this and that, are too many.
But those are not just
contradictions. This is important to make it coherent. You see, the thing about governance is coherence and believability. You start. It's good. I support 100%. But again, the only caveat is people will say, well, why don't we start in-house? But again, it's good for the government. It's good for the image. It's good for the economy. Because not just about money that we spend. It's also about the misalignment of public service. It's a productivity loss. It means that the public service is actually the heart of this productivity. Forget the private sector. They will give the facilitation. So if you have a public sector that is functional, which is what our committee looked at in many levels, then you are not just wasting money. You are burning the count at both ends. You're not producing, you're also wasting.
So this is not really just about optics.
Yeah,
it has some value. We'll talk about the impact on jobs when we come back from this report from our State House correspondent, Adeswa Omonwa.
The Orosanye report, commissioned in 2011 by then-President Goodluck Jonathan, aims to eliminate redundancy in the public service. Chaired by former head of the civil service, Stephen Orosanye, it proposed merging and abolishing various government agencies to streamline operations, reduce costs, and enhance efficiency. However, these recommendations remained on paper for 12 years, with successive governments failing to implement them. Today, the Federal Executive Council, chaired by President Bola Tinubu, has decided to act.
So in a very bold move, today, this administration under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, consistent again with his courage to take very far-reaching decisions in the interest of Nigeria, has taken a decision to implement the so-called Orosanye report. Now, what that means is that a number of agencies, commissions, and some departments have actually been scrapped. Some have been merged, while others have been subsumed. Others, of course, have also been moved from some ministries to others where government feels they will operate better.
Notable mergers include the National Agency for Control of AIDS, merging with the Center for Disease Control, and the Federal Radio Corporation merging with the Voice of Nigeria. Additionally, agencies like the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission will be subsumed into the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission. Hadissa Bala Usman, the Special Advisor to the President on Policy Coordination, provides an extensive list of affected agencies, highlighting that a committee chaired by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation will ensure swift implementation.
The committee would look at the administrative restructuring and also the legislative amendments required to ensure the full implementation of the recommendations. The other aspects of recommendations that have also been passed to the committee to relook at. It's important for us to appreciate the bold approval granted by Mr. President at the Federal Executive Council. This has been a recommendation that has been, I think, in the Nigerian discourse from 2012. We're here in 2024 and it's so been approved, and the aspects that are applicable to mergers, as I said, subsuming and scrapping and relocation of agencies are those that have been so considered, arising from the totality of the panel report.
Amid economic challenges, the Special Presidential Panel reviewing the National Social Investment Program has submitted its reports to President Tinubu. Led by the Finance Minister, the panel recommends the immediate resumption of direct payments to households, targeting 12 million households and 60 million Nigerians. However, questions arise about how identified issues will be addressed for proper beneficiary verification.
What we're looking to do here is the triangulation of this data set to ensure that not only are we using the register that is properly been populated, but that we also do proper verification of every individual that will benefit from that investment, that social investment program, which means we will give commitment to ensuring that no one is paid twice, because you have to be properly ID'd before you can benefit from that program.
As the payments resume, each payment will be verifiable. There will be as the Honourable Minister for Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy has said, and of course he's the expert in this area, there's a triangular cross-verification and coordination of all the aspects of payment, the beneficiary, their account, their NIN, their BVN, and of course, at the end of the day, where the payment actually lands, the account or the mobile wallet. So that's the big difference. This time, it is with integrity and with transparency and accountability.
Approvals reached at the meeting extend to other sectors, including works and education. The Federal Executive Council's actions on the Orosanye report signifies a shift in Nigeria's governance. However, the key now lies in meticulous implementation and sustained oversight to ensure transparency and accountability. From the Presidential Villa, Adesua Omoruan, Arise News.
All right, and you've heard Adesua, and some of the key things you raised earlier had to do with some measures and duplicity, which we're dealing with at the moment. Top on that slide was FRCN, now to be merged with Voice of Nigeria, which is the foreign arm in any case back in the day before it was splitted. So how do you think that this implementation will also avert some kind of problems within hierarchy and headship?
First is that we should not destroy bureaucracy. I mean, the idea of Nigeria is cost of governance, because government is perceived as inefficient. So people want to cut to the bones. For example, look at Voice of Nigeria. In a normal time, that should be an agency that is strong, because Nigeria needs to kind of strategic, what we call public diplomacy. It's not local broadcasting. So they are supposed to be the ones, broadcasting Nigeria to West African coast, African coast. But the government, for a long time, has never had a robust foreign policy, no robust, ambition to, mediate Nigerians' influence across borders. So it becomes redundant. So key points that the redundancies we have are also created by the lack of critical differentiation of mission of agencies. It's not like there are too many, it's that they're doing virtually nothing. Now, back to methodology. I mean, the first thing government should do is not just to say, okay, yes, some could merge easily. I mean, take, for example, Center for Disease Control and Agency for could merge easily. ICRC, the Consumer and Regulatory Commission, has nothing that BPE can do. BPE, public enterprises, privatization is part of concession. The argument there was, concession regulating it. No, there are sector regulators who regulate each of the transactions. Transport, you have power, you have communication. So BPE can easily swallow that. Again, so you're going to think it around mining level. Now, this is a problem. Some of these agencies are going to come with persons who are redundant. I mean, you need to be careful to define who fits in where. Right. Because if you just say swallow the language they're using, you're going to, we've seen in private sector reform that culture merging creates crisis. So when you bring these two institutions that are probably with different staffing that are not responsive to the new mission, you have to redefine it well, retraining. So this is not just about dumping people. Except you want to betray the policy of efficiency. Yeah. So you need to retrain people, restructure the institutions, realign them. Now look at directors. So you're going to have redundancy at top level. So you have to have the courage to send people home and say, pay them off, whatever. Because you can't have, for example, if you merge ICRC with BPE, how many directors are going to have directorates that director level cadre? So
before you go, if we have time, talk about EFCC, ICPC, CCB. But then again, the Better I Do report, the Minister for Humanitarian Affairs, that report is out. What should we make of it?
Well, I don't know the detail, but for me, I think they should be scrapped off. And I see...
What should be scrapped? The humanitarian agency?
Yes, see, you should have a humanitarian agency, not the ministry. And again, I tell you why. Poverty should be a cross-cutting issue. You may have it at the presidential, some kind of project management unit, but I think that we have over-bureaucratized interventions. Some interventions are matter of 2-3 people can run 100 billion naira with defined, structure. Again, if you look at this institution, they have no real defined book, tells you policy, direction, framework. It's just about money. So, in my view, we need to rethink the public service, the purpose in today's world. I mean, if you look at the 1960s, we had very efficient public service. Yeah. We're in a new world today. How do we do public service? Because public service is not just an add-on. That's the heart. If you look at Taiwan, Japan, China, any developed economy start from a functional public sector driving development.
Let me quickly jump in here and take off from where Ngozi left off. Specifically, the Better Edu report, the committee has met. Until this moment, no word. So that's the whole essence. Now, we're coming back to a committee report 13 years later. So now, for the Better Edu, the entire nation was on that, even though some names were also mentioned, that those names have somehow suddenly disappeared from the media space.
When government set up a committee, some is to kill a matter strategically, some may make sense. So I'm not surprised no report, because it doesn't seem to me as good faith committee to find a problem. It's a way of pushes it away, and it looks like they succeeded. You see, government reports could be diversionary, distraction. It could be to bury the matter. It could also be in good faith to really bring ideas together and solve a problem. I think that this one, we should put our best brains together to first think out a process that implements without necessarily hurting productivity. It's not about saving cost only. It's about re-engineering the public service to deliver more productivity.
A yes or no question. Would it make sense to, collapse EFCC, ICPC, CCB, maybe back into the police?
I think the critical work of financial crime control, the NFIU provides intelligence. I think EFCC, maybe not to the police, I think you should bring EFCC and ICPC together. All over the world, you have one anti-corruption agency that strengthens it, and that makes it more accountable, and there will be less conflict around tough battles.
That's a fine place for us to leave it. Dr. Sam Amadi, always a delight having you on this Newsnight.